Assalamualaikum and good morning to all my panel. My name is Ali Adrana binti Mahalim. My matrix number is 2024291686. Today, I will be presenting about my research proposal entitled The Relationship of Social Media Influence on Pre-Competition Anxiety Among Male and Female Athletes. This study is conducted under the supervision of Puan Nur Asmida A. Halim.
This is my overview for my slide presentation. First, social media has become an important communication platform among athletes. It allows athletes to interact with coaches, teammates, and supporters while sharing their sporting activities and experience. Next, social media influence refers to the psychological effects of online interaction on athletes. Continuous exposure to feedback, criticism, and social comparison may increase the psychological pressure before competition. The third one is pre-competition anxiety is the psychological response experienced before competition. It includes cognitive anxiety, somatic anxiety, and self-confidence that can influence an athlete's performance. There are three main problems identified in this study. First, athletes are increasingly exposed to the social media through their daily activities. Negative comments, public expectation, and social comparison may create additional psychological pressure before the competition. Second, previous studies have shown that high levels of pre-competition anxiety can reduce the confidence, concentration, and ultimately affect their athletic performance. And the last one is, although many studies have examined social media or anxiety separately, limited research has investigated the relationship between social media influence and pre-competition anxiety among the Malaysian university athletes. Therefore, further research is needed in this area. The purpose of this study is to examine the relationship between social media influence and pre-competition anxiety among male and female athletes at University Teknologi Mara Shah Alam. This study consists of three research questions. The first research question is to identify the level of social media influence among male and female athletes. The second research question is to determine the level of pre-competition anxiety among male and female athletes. Lastly, the third research question is to examine whether there is a significant relationship between social media influence and pre-competition anxiety among male and female athletes. The research objectives are developed based on the research question. The first objective is to observe the level of social media influence among male and female athletes. The second objective is to observe the level of pre-competition anxiety among male and female athletes. Finally, the third objective is to determine the relationship between social media influence and pre-competition anxiety among male and female athletes. This study proposed one null hypothesis and one alternative hypothesis. The null hypothesis states that there is no significant relationship between social media influence and pre-competition anxiety among male and female athletes. Meanwhile, the alternative hypothesis states that there is a significant relationship between social media influence and pre-competition anxiety among male and female athletes. This study is expected to contribute to several groups. First, for athletes, the findings may increase their awareness of how social media can influence their psychological well-being before competition. Second, for coaches, the findings may help them better understand athletes' psychological response and provide appropriate support before competition. The third, for university, this study may provide useful information to strengthen the athlete support programs, particularly in sports psychology. This study has several limitations. First, it uses a cross-sectional research design, which means the relationship between variables is measured at one point in time. Second, the participants are limited to male and female athletes from UiTM Shah Alam. Third, the study relies on self-administered questionnaire, which depend on participants providing honest and accurate response. Lastly, this sample size is determined using G-power because the exact athlete population is unavailable during the proposal stage before ethical approval is obtained.
This is my operational terms.
This slide summarizes the main literature related to my study. First, previous studies have shown that social media has become an important platform for athletes to communicate, share experience, and interact with others. However, continuous exposure to online feedback, criticism, and social comparison may influence the athlete's psychological well-being. Second, Pre-competition anxiety refers to the psychological response experienced before competition, including cognitive anxiety, somatic anxiety, and self-confidence, which may affect their athletic performance. Previous studies have also reported that greater social media influence may contribute to higher levels of anxiety before competition. In addition, gender differences have been identified where male and female athletes may experience social media influence differently due to the variation in emotional response and online engagement. Next, previous researchers have used validated instruments such as the Social Media Use Integration Scale or SMUS to measure social media influence and the Competition State Anxiety Inventory to Revise or CSAI-2R to assess pre-competition anxiety. Most previous studies involve university or competitive athletes and commonly applied quantitative research designs. Overall, previous findings indicate that higher social media influence is associated with greater psychological pressure and anxiety among athletes. However, studies involving Malaysian university athletes remain limited, highlighting the need for the present study. These slides present the conceptual framework of the study. The independent variable is social media influence, while the dependent variable is pre-competition anxiety. This study aims to determine whether there is a significant relationship between these two variables among male and female athletes. Moving on to the research methodology. This study adopts a quantitative research approach using a cross-sectional correlational research design. A quantitative approach is appropriate because the data collected are numerical and can be analyzed statistically. Meanwhile, the cross-sectional correlational design allows the researchers to examine the relationship between social media influence and pre-competition anxiety at a single point. Data will be collected using self-administered online questionnaire. The target population for this study consists of male and female athletes aged between 18 to 25 years old from UiTM Shah Alam. The minimum required sample size was determined using G-power, which indicated 64 participants. To account for potential non-response and incomplete questionnaire, an additional 20% or 30 participants was added. Therefore, the final target sample size for this study is 77 participants. Two questionnaires will be used in this study. The first is the Social Media Use Integration Scale or SMUS, which measures the level of social media influence among athletes. It consists of 10 items using a 4-point Likert scale. The second instrument is the Competitive State Anxiety Inventory to Revise or CSAI-2R, which consists of 70 items and measure cognitive anxiety, somatic anxiety, and self-confidence. Both instruments have been widely used and reported to have good validity and reliability in previous studies. The research procedure consists of 6 phases. Phase 1 involves obtaining ethical approval before conducting the study. Phase 2 focus on recruiting eligible UiTM Shah Alam athletes. Phase 3 involves briefing participants about the study and obtaining their informed consent. In Phase 4, the SMUS and CSAI-2R questionnaire will be distributed through the Google Forms. Phase 5 involves collecting and screening the completed questionnaire to ensure all responses are complete and meet the study requirements. Finally, Phase 6 involves coding the collected data and analyzing the result using IBM SPSS Statistics version 30. Finally, the collected data will be analyzed using IBM SPSS Statistics version 30. For the first and second research objective, descriptive statistics, including mean and standard deviation, will be used to determine the levels of social media influence and pre-competition anxiety. Before conducting the correlation analysis, a normality test will be performed. If the data are normally distributed, percent correlation will be used. Otherwise, Spearman correlation will be applied to determine the relationship between the two variables. That concludes my presentation. Thank you very much. I truly appreciate your time and consideration, and I welcome any question or suggestion regarding my proposed study.